Everyone, Dr. Yonit Arthur here. I'm an audiologist and strength coach, and I specialize in vestibular disorders. Welcome to The Steady Coach, where we talk about all things related to vertigo, dizziness, balance problems, health, and wellness. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the topic we covered last time, which is why you're still feeling dizzy. And we talked last time about why biological factors are not the only ones you should be addressing if you want to feel better from your chronic dizziness. We talked about how therapy and medicine address almost exclusively those biological factors, and that you have to think about your psychological, neurochemical, social, and emotional responses to your dizziness if you're going to get better. If you haven't watched that video, I strongly suggest going back to watch that one because that will help you understand why these factors are so important. So I want you to think about your emotional state when you feel dizzy. Some common emotional responses are guilt, because you can't do what you used to be able to do. Shame, because you're not performing at your best. Sadness, grief, frustration, anger. All these emotions are normal responses to having chronic dizziness. When you have these feelings, stress chemicals start to rise in your brain. Stress chemicals have been shown through studies specifically on dizziness to affect the way that your brain can rewire itself or achieve what we call neuroplasticity in order to resolve your symptoms of dizziness. Like we talked about last time, dizziness always occurs in the brain. No matter what is going on in your body, dizziness always occurs in the brain. So you want to be thinking about what is going on in your brain when you're trying to figure out a plan for healing from your chronic dizziness. So those emotional patterns that you have in response to your dizziness might be accidentally reinforcing the dizziness by creating these elevated levels of stress chemicals all the time. Ultimately, in order to cure dizziness, the brain needs to be able to change. So the first thing we have to do is address those elevated levels of stress chemicals. In other words, you want to short circuit those stress responses so that you prime your brain, you leave your brain open to rewiring and changing the patterns that it has in response to your dizziness. My favorite way to do this is through simple breathing, and I have an exercise on my brain exercises playlist called parasympathetic breathing that you're welcome to check out. Other people find yoga helpful. Mindfulness meditation is a great way to do this. Ultimately, learning to recognize when that stress response happens and short-circuiting the stress, bringing the stress chemicals back down, is the first thing that you need to learn to do. Longer term, you want to teach the brain new patterns of responses. VOR exercises, like we talked about in the last video, are one way to do that, to teach your brain to use your eyes and ears correctly and keep those stress chemicals down at the same time so that your brain doesn't experience dizziness in response to movement. But there are other ways to do this. Somatic tracking is one of them. That's also on my brain exercises playlist. And I'll be posting another one called graded motor imagery that will also be on the brain exercises playlist. Creating new thoughts and beliefs about your dizziness is also a really important part of short-circuiting that stress response and producing longer-term changes in your brain. We've talked about this approach as well. If you look at 5 minutes of vestib number 1, the dizzy voice, that's one way of changing your thought and belief system about your dizziness. But I've got great news for you. You're already achieving this just by watching this video. Maybe you didn't even realize that the biological causes of your dizziness weren't the only things that were making it affect you the way that it is, weren't the only things that were making your brain create this awful experience of dizziness. And now you know. Now you know that the biological factors are only one factor. The other factors, neurochemical, psychological, your thoughts, your beliefs, your social support system, which we're going to talk about in a moment, those are all just as important in creating this experience of dizziness. Another big one is your attention. Where are you focusing your attention? So what I've noticed about my patients is people with dizziness tend to be higher strung people. That's not always the case. I know some of you out there are probably super chill and just got Meniere's disease and you're super relaxed. My mom has Meniere's disease and she's kind of a more chill individual, so it can happen. But those of you who develop these chronic symptoms of dizziness very often are more type A personalities, people who are very detail oriented. And one thing that I've noticed my patients will often do is they'll kind of obsess and constantly watch for their symptoms. And they'll be able to bring in like a data set and charts and logs on all the different things that trigger their dizziness and all the times they've noticed it. And that can be really, really helpful, especially at first. And I've actually had whole videos on my channel right here telling you about how important it is to know what your triggers are and to log your symptoms. So it's not a bad thing. However, if you're constantly drawing your attention to it, you are going to experience more symptoms. Don't believe me? Well, maybe you can think of an example from your life of when you got hurt but were too busy or preoccupied to notice it. For example, when I'm exercising, often I will emerge from my gym with bruises on me and I don't even know how they got there, okay? Because I was preoccupied with exercising. But you can bet that if I bumped my knee on my way into my bedroom and I wasn't focused on something else, that it would hurt a lot more. The actual injury is the same, but the amount of attention I pay to it is what leads to my experience of pain. So the same thing goes for dizziness. If you're constantly paying attention to your dizziness and focusing on it, you are accidentally reinforcing the dizziness, and that's exactly what you don't want to do. So here's my advice. I do recommend logging. Logging is really good. It's good to know what's causing your symptoms. But once you have an idea of what your triggers are, you can stop logging. And if you feel like you really want to continue logging because things are changing rapidly or it makes you feel good, pick a very specific time every day to do your log and stop. I know it doesn't always work to say, okay, I'm just not going to pay attention to this, I'm not going to pay attention to this, so that's not what I'm suggesting, but try to create a routine that doesn't emphasize and constantly draw your attention to your dizziness. Another really simple thing to do is to schedule in other things that you love. And I know this sounds very simplistic, but you would be amazed at how many of my dizzy patients are extremely busy people and have no time for themselves, never actually do things that they enjoy. They're constantly taking care of other people or worrying about things. If you're going to schedule your time to log, you may as well also schedule in 10 minutes to do something that you just like to do. You pick whatever that is, schedule that time in, and you'll see that when your attention is not on your dizziness, when it's on something you enjoy, your experience is going to reduce. Every moment you spend not paying attention to your dizziness because you're doing something else is time you're not reinforcing your dizziness. It weakens that dizziness response. So the more full your life is of these activities that keep you busy and keep you doing things that you enjoy or that challenge you, the less you're going to experience your dizziness symptoms. And along those same lines, social factors also have a huge role in managing your dizziness symptoms. And the one I'm going to focus on specifically today is whether the people around you are giving you supportive messages or not. I know from every dizzy person I've ever talked to that they have been dismissed in many cases by their medical physicians or other clinicians or family members or friends. They've been told this is all in your head, you're just crazy, you just need to relax, this is just this or that. They have all sorts of explanations and advice for you, most of which is completely not helpful. So let's talk about some ways you can address this. The first thing to know though is that their responses, even when you're like, oh, it doesn't matter, I know what I know, it does matter. We're social creatures. Your brain chemicals are going to change in response to what other people do. I'm sorry, there's no way around it. Even for you introverts out there, this is true. What other people do, how they react and respond to you is going to affect how you feel and how the chemicals in your brain affect your dizziness. So here are some things you can do to help people learn to support you better. The Vestibular Disorders Association, VITA, vestibular.org, I'll link to them below, has an amazing network of support groups that are both local and online. I volunteer for VITA. I absolutely love them. If you have not visited them yet, please go visit them, sign up for one of their support groups, and start getting in touch with other people who are going through what you're going through. You can also take family, friends, loved ones to the support group so they have an idea of what you're going through. You can also send people who you know videos like this one or other informational videos or articles to help them understand what vestibular disorders do and what they feel like. And finally, I would suggest you take a few minutes after you finish this video to brainstorm on when in your life you have felt supported. All of us have felt supported. It may not be in the realm of dizziness, but think about a time when you did feel like someone was supportive of you. Write down what they did that helped you. And those are the things that you can then use to tell other people. Be a self-advocate. Tell other people exactly what you need them to do. My experience is that there are a lot of people in my patients' lives who want to help them. They just have no idea how. People just don't know how to respond to these things. They don't understand. They've never had a vestibular disorder. It's a hidden disorder. It's invisible, so they can't see it. They don't know what it's like. If you give them very specific suggestions on how to help you, they will be grateful. I'm going to give you just a few ideas that my patients have used. Feel free to use them and again, create your own. One thing you could do is pick easier venues for your hangouts with your friends. Quieter, less busy environments are going to usually be easier for people with vestibular disorders. Another thing that might help is a simple check-in when you guys are out and about or at home, wherever you are, just checking in, hey, I know this is a challenging situation. How are you? Are you okay? That can mean a lot. Physical or emotional grounding can also be something someone else can do for you that you can't even do for yourself. And then finally, listening without giving advice. This is a big one. People just need to explicitly be told sometimes that you just want them to be a listening ear and you're not looking for advice or YouTube videos or how-tos on what to do about it. This is just the tip of the iceberg on addressing some of those social, emotional, psychological, neurochemical factors that are affecting your dizziness. If you're just treating the biological causes of your dizziness and you're not addressing the factors that we just talked about in this video, you are not going to achieve the outcomes that you want to in healing your chronic dizziness. Give these a try and let me know how you do. Feel free to comment below. Tell me some of the other things that have been helpful to you in healing from your chronic dizziness. If you enjoyed this video, please share, please like, please subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I'll see you next time.